Profitability, the number one thing everyone is talking about right now on Amazon. How do we increase profits? I have a pretty packed presentation today. It's going to cover a lot of different things. It's going to cover ads. It's going to cover your click-through rate, conversion rate. It's going to cover profitability when it comes to like your cost of goods, cash flow cycle, negotiations, all that good stuff. Some analytics that I bet most people have not heard of. So I'm very excited. This is going to be like a really, really good one. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to jump right into the masterclass. Amazon Profit Growth Masterclass. Welcome everyone. Key takeaways. Why profit is the most important metric. I know a lot of people get stuck in the little details of ACOS and TACOS, all this stuff. I'm going to uncover a lot of that stuff. Gain insights into metrics for profitable growth. These are things like break-even conversion rate, cost per session, metrics people aren't talking about, but the importance of break-even data, the importance of understanding what your conversion rate needs to be for you to even break even. You can break that up into a full equation and seeing what makes that up. Tips for lowering your cost of goods sold and increasing your profit margins, the power of variations for your profit margins, understanding how click-through rate and conversion rate impact profit. This is huge, by the way, and operating with a single goal strategy. This is as it relates to ads. And I see a lot of people losing a lot of profit because they're operating with two different modes, scaling and optimizing at the same time. So who's this talk for? Brands of any size, honestly. I say 7, 8, 9 figures. Even if you're just starting out, this is incredibly important for you. Ads managers, because we're going to cover ads, people who hold agency accountables, aggregators, PPC agencies. So essentially anyone who is in charge of an Amazon account or works as part of it. Why listen to me? This is basically a 1-minute version of my story. I started as a chemical engineer, got my bachelor's and master's, worked corporate 9 to 5, worked up the corporate ladder. At my peak, I was managing $12 million in projects. Hated my life. I decided to start MMA Nutrition, which is a supplement brand for my passion for supplements. I got it on Amazon, became fully obsessed because it was my way out of the rat race. I was able to scale the brand to 7 figures, shared everything. I didn't have an agency at the time. I just wanted to help people. So got on podcasts, became very well known. An aggregator hit me up, said they wanted me to train their team, but they wanted to test me first. They tested me on one of their accounts. I beat their 6 top agencies. And, after a year of turning people down because they kept asking me, please run my brand and all this stuff. And I said, no, I realized I was just very good at it. And I decided to start an agency to help people, help brands, right? So what is the most important metric? Let's get right into it. The most important metric is profit. It doesn't matter what your revenue is, what your ACOS or your TACOS or any of that stuff is. The most important metric is profit because that's your bottom line. That's what goes to your bank. That's what helps you grow your business. That's what you can reinvest in with. And that's what your company valuation is based on. So if you guys don't know, when you go to sell your company, they're going to ask you what your profit essentially is. It's called SDE, Sellers Discretionary Earnings. But, in short term, it's just profit. Now, would you rather an ACOS of 15% with $100 of profit or an ACOS of 50% with $200 profit? I mean, it's obviously, right? You don't care about the ACOS because who cares about the specific ACOS? It doesn't materialize into anything. It's kind of one of those leading indicators of what your profit is going to be. But don't get too attached to it. You should be monitoring profit and you should be doing everything to get a higher profit. So forget about ACOS, focus on total sales and profits. ACOS is going to give you only insights into the ad performance. And in my opinion, I think ACOS is inaccurate. I actually think that it's a skewed number based on lack of attribution in Amazon, based on like the fact that I've tested campaigns where I was spending $100, making $200 in PPC sales. I would turn off that campaign expecting to spend $100 less and only make $200 less because that's the PPC sales. And I would lose like $300 or $400 in sales. Meaning there's something that has to do with the organic. Either it's not being attributed or it affects organic. And then I realized, I'm like, why am I even looking at ACOS? Why am I even looking at TACOS, right? I should just be looking at the number that actually matters to me, which is my bottom line in profit. Your metrics under a microscope. So you need a clear understanding of your metrics. You need to analyze your daily metrics. I like to do them in 7-day chunks and then look at it in 30 days. Like look at your metrics in the last 30 days. I'm going to show you my dashboard real quick. So this is my real profit, right? And you can see here, we're tracking revenue, but PPC sales, organic sales, revenue, but also we're tracking profit. This is a very important one. And this is probably taking the screenshot in the middle of the month. But I want to show you guys what the data is that I'm actually tracking at a deep level, because it's going to be a little bit hard to put it in one sheet. So I'm just logging in so I can show it to you. All right. Here we go. This is kind of what it looks like, right? This is what allows me to see things very, very clearly. You can see I have a week over week dashboard, right? PPC spend, PPC sales, total sales. PPC spend is important because that's how much we're spending. Total sales is important because that's the paid and organic, and it's actually not a skewed number. This one could be bullshit. Units, sessions. Sessions is the number of visitors coming into your listing. Cost per session is how much we're paying for each visitor to come into that listing, which is basically an equation between PPC spend divided by sessions, right? It's going to give you the cost per session. Then we have conversion rate, unit session percentage, and the break-even conversion rate. I can touch into break-even conversion rate right now, but essentially what it is how much does your conversion rate need to be for you to break even, for you to not lose money? 2.75%. So obviously when you're at 29, 33, 31, you're doing amazing. Click-through rate, very important metric, because with all things being the same, your visibility is the same, your impressions are the same. Having a better click-through rate means you can have 2 times, 3 times more people coming into your listing, because you're not just having more people coming into your listing from the ads, but also from organic. Cost per click, how much you're paying for each click, not that important, but kind of worth seeing. ACOS and TACOS, we obviously know those metrics. ACOS is your PPC spend divided by your PPC sales, and TACOS is your PPC spend divided by your total sales. TACOS is basically what percentage of your revenue is going away to ads. So if you have a 30% profit margin and your TACOS is 4%, it means you're going to have a 26% margin left after ads. And here we're tracking profit. This is a very important one, and I'll break it down into the profit calculation in a second. Another important one I like to look at is our blended cost per acquisition. And then it's worth tracking refunds, because one day I noticed that my refund spiked, and I realized it was because I was giving a $10 discount on my first subscribe and save. We went and looked. 85% of those refunds came from people who had subscribe and save and then canceled. So what they were doing is they took the coupon for $10 off subscribe and save, got the product for $10 off, and then canceled the subscription. And so I ended up losing. So it's good to kind of track those things. Now, here's what a profit calculation looks like. And by the way, guys, all of this is kind of our custom built dashboards on top of My Real Profit. So it's called Trivium Analytics. If you ever wanted, just, email us or whatever, and we'll give you access. This is what it looks like, right? Day by day, we have sales, total sales, units sold, discount on those units, coupons, the FBA fee, the referral fee. So FBA fee is the fee to take it, put it in a box or whatever, a bubble or mailer, and send it out. Referral fee is the 15% commission Amazon makes for allowing you to sell on their platform. Advertising, which is the PPC spend, refunds here, cost of goods sold, and then the profit. And it's very important that you have a view like this, whether you do it here or you do it anywhere else, because you need to figure out where your costs are coming from. You're starting off with amazing $3,135 in sales. Great. But what's eating into my costs? Is it my discounts? Is my FBA fee very high? Referral fee, you can't really do much. But, here we can try and optimize the packaging. Here we can, see if we take away the discounts, is it going to make things better? Advertising, obviously, we're constantly talking about that. Refunds. So is there anything in refunds that's a red flag? Cost of goods, we're going to talk about how to reduce that. And then, seeing my profit. So just wanted to share that because I think it's very important to have a dashboard like this that shows you all of your metrics in one place, and you can constantly track, not just because you want to know your numbers, but also to always know which number can I focus on this week to improve things. So, advertising with a single goal. Let's get into advertising. I see a lot of people running ads in different directions. So they're increasing spend and decreasing spend at the same time. What they're doing is they're launching campaigns and they're optimizing bids. And so when that happens, the problem is you're taking actions in different directions. If you're looking to scale, you want to take actions in one direction only. That direction is, let's say you're scaling, increasing bids, moving bids up, increasing budgets, allowing us to spend more money, launching new campaigns, increasing bid by placement. Those actions will all result in an increase in spend and an increase in revenue. If I take actions that will decrease the spend, what's going to happen is I'm not going to know what's happening to my spend. It might go up a little, down a little. I'm not really sure the actions that I took. What did it cause? Like, was the increased action cause the big increase or a small increase? And then if the total sales decreases, I'm not going to know why. If it increases, I'm not going to know why. If it stays the same, I'm not going to know why. Versus when I take actions all in one direction, then I know, okay, I took all actions in one direction, increase bids, increase budgets, increase bid by placements, launch new campaigns. My spend went up by $100. My sales went up by $400. That was a success. Or my sales went up by $150. That wasn't a success. And I can take actions to correct that, right? So advertising with a single goal strategy will greatly improve profitability. And I'll talk about the different stages. So scaling, right? Let's talk about scaling. When should you scale? If your ad spend is low, you want to scale, right? Because if you have $50 in ad spend a day, and let's say you're making $200 in sales, what are you going to do to improve profit based on your ads? You're going to cut down from 50 to 25. So you want to add $25 a day in profit. That's not going to do anything, right? Versus If you scale, so you take your ad spend from 50 to 200, hopefully your sales go from 200 to 800. And now, when you cut down your ad spend, you maybe, you cut it down by, like, let's say 50 or 100. Now you're doing $100 extra in profit, plus your sales went up at the same time. So now that there's even more profit. So what is the goal of scaling, right? The goal of scaling is to identify new profitable search terms and increase your rank and your spend on existing search terms to drive more sales. What should you expect when you're scaling? Profits are going to go down when you're scaling. And so your ad spend is going to go up. You're spending more money. Your revenue is going to go up. You're expecting your revenue to go up, more sessions, more clicks, more sales. However, because we're testing and we're trying, like I said, identifying new and profitable search terms, what's going to happen is some of those keywords aren't going to work well. So you're going to end up wasting money or spending money and not making sales. And that's going to be some wasted spend that's going to eat into your profit. But it's like taking one step back to take two steps forward, right? It's basically like, I'm going to launch these campaigns. I'm going to discover new keywords. I'm going to increase my sales velocity. I'm going to lose money now, but when I optimize, it's going to, make me more profit in the future. So how do you scale? We talked about this: increase bids, increase budgets, increase bid by placements, launch new campaigns from keywords that you discovered in keyword research, the search term report, the search query performance report, data dive, helium 10, whatever, and then launch different types of campaigns. Be very careful with that one. I recommend that you leave it until the end. I have a masterclass on YouTube on PPC. Watch that first before you launch sponsored brand and display. The other stage is optimizing. So when should you optimize? After scaling, you've increased your spend and increased your revenue. Now you need to start cutting down and optimizing on the things that didn't work out so you can actually become profitable. The goal of optimization is to reduce your ad spend, maintain organic ranking, maintain revenue as much as possible, and increase your bottom line profit. How do you optimize? It's going to be lowering bids, lowering bid by placements, adding negatives, pausing bleeding keywords, and then stop sponsored brand and sponsored display ads if you're not sure that they're actually adding value. Again, anything sponsored brand and display, refer to the PPC masterclass. But those are the kind of the actions that we're taking to optimize. And what should you expect when optimizing? Ad spend is going to go down, profit is going to increase, and then organic rank and revenue might go down. So be careful. As you optimize for profit, you obviously are trying to spend less. That sometimes works amazing. And other times, for certain keywords, you lower your bids, your spend goes down, but also your sales and your ranking goes down. Just to recap a little bit, right? We've covered our analytics. We talked about analytics. We talked about the importance of tracking your analytics, because the analytics are going to have those key things that we're diving in right now. So you saw the first key thing that we dove into was our ad spend from PPC, and our sessions and our cost per session. All of that is going to be dictated by PPC. So as we're spending more money on scaling, we're spending more, our ad spend goes up, our revenue goes up, but our profit goes down. So we're tracking that metric, right? The spend metric and the profit metric. And then as we optimize for profit, we're expecting our spend to go down, our revenue might stay the same or go down a little bit, and our profit will go up. So that's the kind of the first piece. We covered PPC briefly, and we covered why you should stay single focused with a single goal, in either going to increase revenue by scaling, optimizing for profit through optimization actions, or the third one is going to be plateauing. And we're going to talk about plateauing when it comes to click-through rate and conversion rate optimization. So let's talk about some other metrics that you saw in there. What is break-even data and its impact on performance? So when managing your profit growth, there's important things that you can consider. Your profit per unit is a very important metric. How much money are you making per unit before ads, right? Like, what is that number? Like, how much room do we have to play with in terms of margin? Dollar amount, right? Not just percentage. What's your conversion rate for you to break even? So at what conversion rate do you need to be so that your ads essentially spend your entire profit per unit, but not more? And then what is your blended cost per acquisition? So how much are you spending right now to acquire a customer? So if you have a $9 profit per unit and you're spending $10 to acquire one customer, you're basically losing $1 for every sale. Or if you're spending $2, you're making $7 in profit for every sale. So some important metrics to keep an eye out on. So let's talk about profit per unit. Profit per unit before ad spend is your sale price minus your Amazon fees minus your cost of goods sold. So that is how much maximum dollar amount in profit you can make before spending ads. That's like your best profit. Like if you put the product up, didn't spend money on ads and just ranked and made sales, that's how much you would make in terms of sales for each one. Now, the bigger the gap is here, the more profit you have per unit. So let's break these down. Sale price. If you have a higher sale price, you're going to make more profit per unit. So one thing to consider is maybe increasing your price, maybe by $1, maybe by $2. Recently, I took MMA Nutrition from $28 or $29.95 to $37.95, and I made way more profit without losing money. without losing any money. So that's one thing. Amazon fees is the second thing. How do we reduce that? You can't do anything about the 15% commission. It just is 15% of your revenue, but your FBA fee, you can take a look at, what size category you're in right now. So look at the size category. If you're in standard, large, or whatever, what dimensions do you need to be, or what do you need to do to get to the smaller one, like the one step smaller? Maybe right now your box is like this, but you realize, well, actually, based on the actual product, if I made it thinner and whatever, it could qualify for a different tier size, which is going to save me a lot of money. And then the final piece is, what is your cost of goods sold? Can you drop this number? Right? Can you make this lower? So if I make the Amazon fees lower, I make the cost of goods lower, and there's a section about this, and I increase my sale price, I'm essentially increasing this whole thing. Now, this doesn't take into account discounts, coupons, reimbursements, and refunds. Those are just kind of, refunds. Figure out why they're happening and try to reduce them. Reimbursements, you should be using us or Getira or SI or one of those tools that is going to do clawbacks for you to constantly get reimbursements. And then discounts and coupons, make sure that you're testing them like thoughtfully. Make sure that you are testing a coupon and looking at not your click-through conversion rate and all this stuff. Make sure you look at the bottom line profit. So say, okay, today is whatever, January 1st. From January 1st to January 15th, I'm going to do a $5 coupon. I'm expecting from the coupon to get a better click-through rate, better conversion rate, more people to convert, so I'm going to make more money, right? And so you see, okay, the last 2 weeks, let's say December 15th to December 31st, I made $2,000 in profit. January 1st to January 15th, how much did I make in profit with the coupon, with everything else being the same? And that's what's going to tell you if your discounts and coupons are working or not working. That's something that you need to keep in mind to maximize profit, not just coupons for the sake of my competitors have coupons, but more like, are we testing this? And I know it's painful. I know it's like discipline. It's like you have to go, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you have to measure every single meal. You have to weigh out your chicken. You have to weigh out your rice. It sucks, but that's the cost of, being jacked and having a six-pack year-round, right? It's those hard things, which means you have to have the discipline to say, I'm not going to take 20 things that Mina taught me today and implement all of them at once. I'm going to only optimize my main image. I'm going to only try to do this thing or that thing one at a time and notice what the actual outcome is. The second is break-even conversion rate. So let's talk about that. Cost per session is your PPC spend divided by the number of sessions. That is how much you're spending for each person to come into your listing. Now, you'll notice that this is total sessions, not PPC sessions, which means this cost per session is blended. However, I know for a fact that from all the testing that I've done is that PPC is going to affect your organic. So since we're spending money on PPC and it's affecting your PPC sessions and your organic sessions, I figured let's just lump them and tell me how much am I spending right now to bring one person into my listing. So that's the cost per session. Obviously, if you want to reduce the cost per session, what you can do is you can reduce the PPC spend, which means better targeting, target better keywords more profitably, or increase the number of sessions for the same ad spend, which is going to happen when you have better click-through rate and you're ranked better organically. So those are the things that are going to be able to drop your cost per session. Now, why do you want to drop your cost per session? Because break-even conversion rate, so that percentage that for you to break even is your cost per session, which is this number, divided by your maximum profit per unit. So if your cost per session is $1, which means like I spent $100 in PPC and I got 100 sessions to my listing, okay, $1 per session. If my cost per session is $1 and my profit per unit is $10, so $1 cost per session, $10 profit per unit before ads. My break-even conversion rate is 10%, which means if I have a 10% unit session percentage, I'm not going to make money. If I have 15%, I'm going to be profitable. If I have a 7%, I'm going to lose money. Easy numbers to calculate. You can pull this all from your data on Amazon. Pretty simple. The final one I want to touch on is your blended cost per acquisition. So blended cost per acquisition is your total ad spend divided by your total units sold. You know what your maximum profit per unit is. Your blended cost per acquisition is going to eat out of that. And whatever is left, that's going to be your profit. So let's say, again, you have $10 in profit per unit. If your total ad spend is $100 and your total units sold is 100 units, you're spending $1 per unit as a cost per acquisition, which means you're left with $9 in profit per unit. If your blended cost per acquisition equals your maximum profit per unit, you're breaking even. If it's smaller, you're profitable. If it's bigger, you're losing money. So how can you improve your blended cost per acquisition? Obviously, increase the number of units sold for the same ad spend or decrease the ad spend. So decreasing the ad spend is the optimization, also the improving the conversion rate and the click-through rate. And then increasing the total number of units sold is going to be by improving your click-through rate, improving your conversion rate, and you know, having better targeting on your ads. So you can start to see how everything kind of works together. Now, what are the benefits of improving click-through rate and conversion rate when it comes to profits? So higher click-through rate for the same ads and for the same efforts that you have right now is going to drive more traffic, and it's also going to lower your cost per click. This is something that we've noticed is as we've improved click-through rate by having a better main image, and everything is listed actually, as we've increased the click-through rate, we've seen cost per click goes down. And so for the same efforts in terms of advertising, we're getting more people into the listing and it's costing us less money, which obviously is going to improve our bottom line profit. And with conversion rate, again, for the same people coming into the listing, the same ad spend that we already spent and the same, you know, traffic that's coming in from organic, we get more sales, which means more revenue for the same ad spend, which means more profit. That's why improving click-through rate and improving conversion rate for 99% of brands that I work with and that I consult and that I talk to, and I've at this point consulted like, I want to say like in the thousands, at least over 1,000, 99% of the time, if you improve your click-through rate, if you improve your conversion rate, that is going to result in significant improvements in profits with everything being the same. Obviously, keep working on ads, but your ads are kind of like they are a result of your click-through rate and conversion rate. So if your click-through rate, conversion rate are bad, your ads are bad, and you're constantly like, you know, working, trying to fix your ads, but they're always going to be bad because people don't want to click or buy your product. If your click-through rate, conversion rate becomes better, anything that you do with your ads starts working better because for the same efforts and the same everything, more people are buying your product. So let's walk through click-through rate. You can see here, I'm going to try and like boost through this a little bit more because we have 30 minutes and I want to have time for Q&A and all this stuff. So if you notice, there's 7 factors that affect the click-through rate. You can see them here. Main image, the title, the reviews and star rating, the price and the price per, discounts and coupons, if you're FBA versus FBM, and if you have badges, right? So what is click-through rate, by the way, guys? The equation for click-through rate, it's clicks divided by impressions. So basically, when you load up in the search, like we just did right now, and unfortunately, impressions in your PPC campaigns are going to reflect ads only. So if you really want to get good click-through rate data, you need to go into the search query performance report. And then you have to see for each keyword, your number of clicks for that keyword and your total impressions for that keyword and calculate the click-through rate for that keyword. And then if you sum all of your clicks and you sum all of your impressions for all the keywords, you can calculate your total click-through rate for your product as a whole. And so, you know, with that being said, what it is a measure of what percentage of people who see you click on you. Now, not all impressions means that people saw you, but we have to just work under that assumption, right? We just take that as a gauge and we say, you know, impressions means we're showing up in the search results, and the more clicks we're getting for the same impressions, the more desirable our listing is. So main image, you want a clear, big, easy to read main image, concise. You want white background. You want it to be a 3D render. I don't like the real life photos. They're shiny. They look bad. You know, it's very hard to get them to look super crisp. You can also do a lot of manipulation in 3D render. So let's say that you have a box and it's kind of tilted to the side because you're showing it like with some products or whatever. Maybe the text on the real box is going to be hard to read, but you can manipulate it in the 3D render to make it very easy to read, right? Because it's a 3D render. Other things is eye candy, so having delicious stuff around here. And then on the product, what I like to do sometimes is I also like to manipulate the label. So maybe this doesn't look like this, or maybe like I'm looking at this right here, and what I care about as a consumer is that it has 30 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar. So maybe this text, I'm going to remove it, this small stuff that I'm never going to see anyways, and make 30 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar really big. You know what I mean? Because that's what the customer cares about. Tools that will help you a lot with this. Well, there's 2 of them, right? There's IntelliV, there's PickFu, there's Product Opinion, but also you can use RankBell to get like surveyor data. They can actually do a full survey on your entire listing and tell you what they liked and what they didn't like. So there's a couple ways to do this. PickFu and Product Opinion and IntelliV are super easy because you just put your image versus your competitors, ask a bunch of people why they would choose, you know, one over the other, and they'll give you that feedback. Oh, because this one looks like it has more protein. You're like, what the hell? I have more protein. You know what I mean? Cool. So main image we covered. Title, I think this is 80 characters right here. You can split test the title and manage my experiments in brand analytics on Amazon. So the title needs to be SEO optimized, but it also needs to be easily readable. So try to have the main keywords right up front. And then as you add more keywords, just try to make it easy to read. And like the shopper, when they're looking for, you know, whey protein or protein isolate or whatever, they're going to be easily able to identify, oh, this has what I'm looking for. Reviews and star rating, very, very self-explanatory. The more reviews you have, the higher your star rating is, the more money you're going to make, essentially. Better click-through rate you're going to have. Price and price per. So price is important because shoppers are very, very, very interested in price. And then the price per ounce or price per pack or price per whatever, that's another big one, because sometimes I notice, like, for example, you can see this. This is a $30 product. This is a $25 product. Both of them probably have 30 servings, but this one is 92 cents per ounce, and this one is $1.08 per ounce. So some people actually might buy this one because they're like, oh, I'm getting more bang for my buck. You never know. They probably didn't think and say, oh, well, maybe I should look at which one's going to give me more total grams of protein. Next, discounts and coupons. So this is one that I talked about that you guys should test. Adding discounts and coupons can sometimes lead to better click-through rate. The only way to figure out if it's worth it or not is to test it and look at your bottom line profit. Did it make you better profit? Yes or no? And then FBA versus FBM, shipping speed, that's going to be a huge one. If yours is not coming in 1 to 2 days, that's going to be an issue, especially compared to your competitors. And then getting the bestseller badge. Any badges generally help click-through rate. The bestseller badge spikes sales tremendously. So that's one that you want to get. Let's talk about conversion rate. So it's the units sold divided by the sessions. So how many people purchase your product divided by how many sessions you had in the listing. So if there's 50 units divided by 100 sessions, that's a 50% conversion rate. Okay. So what are some of the factors that affect conversion rate? So everything that affects click-through rate also affects conversion rate. Some additional things are the rest of the images on the listing, the videos on the listing, the bullet points on the listing, brand story and premium A+ content, virtual bundles, so brand story and A+ content. So with all of those things, guys, like brand story and premium A+ content, make sure you have a brand story. Make sure that it talks about the mission, the vision of the company, and upsells your other products. Make sure that you have premium A+ content. A lot of people will tell me, hey, premium A+ content, it's pretty hard to get. Like, how do I get it? Blah, blah, blah. It's pretty easy, actually. All you need is a brand story, and you need 5 submissions of your A+ content. What you can easily do is you can just do an A+ content module with text, put a certain text, and then change the text and submit it every single time. And all it needs to do is get approved 5 times, and then you're going to be eligible for premium A+. After 5 submissions and brand story on all of your products, just open up a case with Amazon, say, hey, I qualify for premium A+. I have all the criteria mentioned. Can you please give it to me? And that's pretty much it. If you guys want like ideas on what your main image and listing images and brand story and premium A+ content looks like, just take a look at that, right? Like, this is kind of a sample of our portfolio. And what I do is pretty simple. Like, my process is really simple. I go in and I look at, okay, what are the keywords that matter for like my product? What are the benefits of my product? Why is my product better than everyone else? What are the images of my top competitors? What are the negative reviews that people have about products? What are the positive reviews that people have about products? And I'll put them all like in one place. And I'll say, okay, cool. I'm going to create my images so that they talk about all the benefits of my product. Why my product is better than everyone else, how it doesn't have any of the 1-star reviews, how it has all of the 5-star reviews, all the important keywords that people like will trigger in people's mind right away. And I match them to the quality of my top competitors' listings. And I say, I definitely want to beat their listings in terms of like a look and a feel. Okay. Reducing COGS. Let's talk about ways that you can reduce your cost of goods sold. COGS is basically your cost of goods sold, which is the manufacturing cost and the shipping cost and everything, all the way up until Amazon. So if your manufacturer says, I'm going to make your product for $4 per unit, and then to ship it from here to America is going to cost you, $1,000 for 1,000 units. That's another $1. So now you're at 5. And then shipping it from, the warehouse in America to Amazon's warehouse is another $500. So that's, 50 cents. So now you're at $5.50 landed cost of goods sold. That is your cost of goods sold. And we need to look for ways where you can reduce your cost of goods sold. Now, there's a few things that we can do here. The first thing that I want to mention is one thing that's more important than all of this is staying in inventory. Because let's say that, we work and we reduce the COGS and we do all this stuff, and, we're shipping from China to the US right away, direct to Amazon, all that good stuff, right? If you ever run out of stock, you're going to lose tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on Amazon. And none of that, like all of that is not worth it. It's not worth all the little tiny savings that you made It's much better that you just focus on always staying in stock and always selling. So things that you can do, right, in terms of like leveraging third-party logistics company, maintaining a level of buffer stock at 3PL facilities. So what we do with anything, for me, I'm like, most of my stuff is US based, but we have some stuff that is overseas based. What I do with tactical logistics, for example, is we know what we have at Amazon right now. And I always look at my last 30 days sales, and it tells me how many days of inventory do I have left. I always want to be between like 60 and 30. So I have 60 days of inventory left. I sell, sell, sell. As soon as I have 30 left, my shipment is already receiving to Amazon. Now, to do that from China is going to be very tricky. But when you use a 3PL, what you can do is you can tell them, hey, I'm going to send 2 months of stock and store them at your warehouse. And what's going to happen is I'm just going to constantly rotate. It's going to go from China to the 3PL, and the 3PL is going to constantly drip it, and it's going to always drip into Amazon. As soon as, you know, we're at, like, let's say 35 days of stock left, it's going to send the shipment. By the time we're at 30 days, it's already receiving the shipment. We're back up to 60 days of stock. And then with China and the 3PL, because there's a buffer there, let's say there's a 60-day buffer, so you have about 30 days to play with. Every, like, let's say 30 days on a shipping schedule, you know, okay, you know, like that you're selling 1,000 units a month. So you tell China, you're like, I want to put an order for 12,000 units. And I'm going to talk about this in like how to negotiate your cost of goods sold. But you go to your manufacturer and you say, hey, I want to put in an order for 12,000 units. That's going to be amazing. But you're like, listen, this is going to be on a plan. So issue the PO and I'm going to give you the schedule. And you're going to basically put the dates of when they need to get the shipments out to the 3PL. So you know how much you're selling every single month. A shipment is going out from China to your 3PL, and then from your 3PL to Amazon. Now, you might be like, Mina, 1,000 units like every single month, a shipment every single month. That's not going to be that profitable. Okay, cool. Make it 3,000 units every 3 months, right? And you can do once a quarter shipment. It's going to be a little bit trickier. As long as you have, I would say, increase your buffer stock to 3 months instead of 2 months at the 3PL. And as long as you have that buffer stock, that's fine. You can start doing shipments once a quarter. And again, it's going to be on a plan, and you put the PO in place already. And here's what's going to happen, right? Let's get into some of the stuff with reducing COGS, right? First of all, you want to build a stronger relationship with the manufacturer. So you're going to emphasize terms like partner. And by the way, I learned all of this, you see at the bottom, from my friend Kian. Kian is a sourcing master. A lot of the stuff I learned from him. But you want to build stronger relationships with the manufacturers. Use terms like partnership and long-term. So you don't want to approach them as an Amazon seller. You want to approach them as a brand with a long-term vision of becoming the top product in the industry. You're not thinking next month or the month after, you're thinking 12 months, 24 months in advance. Now, again, this is all stuff that you're going to tell them. Doesn't mean that it's going to be a reality. And a lot of this stuff is negotiable, right? The only thing that you're going to be on the hook for is the money that comes out of your bank account. So you can do all this negotiation, and if only a certain amount of money comes out of your bank account, let's say, you know, we negotiate, we want a 12-month contract, PO, blah, blah, blah. And then after 2 months, you're like, hey, my listing got shut down. I don't need any more inventory. They're not going to do anything. They're going to be like, okay, I understand. Or you can say, hey, listen, like this product's not working. It's not profitable. Let's pivot to something else. At the end of the day, you're going to get the deal, and no one's going to start suing you for like a PO that you didn't fulfill because you're not selling it anymore. And by the way, part of like building strong relationships, if you can, and I mean, I would love to, right? Just go out to China, meet with them, talk with them, either learn like a little bit of Mandarin or bring a translator or something with you. A lot of them know how to speak really good English anyways. But with all of that being said, you want to build a really strong relationship, because for me right now, some of my invoices, my manufacturer lets me pay them after 90 days, right? Initially, it was like, pay everything all up front, and then I'll make the product, and then I'll put in the order to make the product for you. And after years of building a relationship, now it's like, okay, you can pay 90 days later, which means Amazon pays me my money and then I pay him his money. So I can order as much as I want, as long as like it makes sense because I'm selling it, and it's no problem on my cash flow. Second thing to get better COGS, get multiple quotes from different suppliers and compare them. Some people will come to me and say, Mina, I got quoted for an electrolyte supplement for $6. Is that good? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad, but what I can tell you what I paid for mine, right? But like, what you need to do is you need to take your formula and get quotes from different places, and then, you know, see, okay, like what is everyone telling me? Like, am I in a good range? And then you want to find the best quality at the lowest price. The reason I put best quality first is because quality is more important than price. One okay-ish bad batch, you know, which happened to me in the past when I had a bad manufacturer, you end up getting so many negative reviews and you lose so much more money and profits than if you had better quality. Provide detailed specs, improve already existing products. All of those things are going to help because, manufacturers are interested in working with people that are innovating. Inquire about materials they have in stock. This is a huge one. A lot of times you're like, hey, I want to come up with this product. And they're like, okay, it's going to cost $13 in cost of goods. And you're like, why? Well, we have to order this and this and this. You're like, what do you have in stock? What can you make this with? Oh, we actually have this and this. Oh, you have that? Well, perfect. That's perfectly fine. Let's start with that one. Let's do that material instead. We don't need to do this other custom material. And then this is the cool one, right? Obtain quotes for higher MOQs, and then you can work down from there. So most people will come in and get a quote for 1,000 units. They'll say, hey, I want 1,000 units of X. And they'll say, okay, it's going to be $12. What I do is I go in and I say, how many units can you fit in a container? And they'll say, well, we can probably fit like 32,000 units. I'm like, cool. How much is it to ship a container? Or tell me like what my cost of goods is going to be for a container. How much can you get shipping for from here to here? Perfect. They give me these quotes. That is probably going to be close to the most discounted that you can get. And then from there, I'll work my way back. I'll say, okay, listen, right now, this is probably viable in 2 years, but right now, I can't do 32,000 units. What I can do is I can commit to 12,000 units, and we'll put a PO for 12,000 units on a schedule. Schedule is going to be on the first of the month, you're going to ship it out. You're going to put in the terms and conditions that you have flexibility to increase or decrease the quantity as long as there's like 14-day notice given before the next production run and all this kind of stuff. And then from there, he's like, okay, fine. I like maybe the best price was $4. He gives it to you for $4.50, but the initial one was $8 because he thought you were only going to do 1,000 units, right? And that's a really good way to kind of get better cost of goods sold. And then I think one thing that is even more important than cost of goods sold, which actually eats into your profits, but will make you more profitable long-term, is favorable payment terms. So favorable payment terms can go in both ways. The first way is you can say, if I pay you everything up front, can you give me 10% off? Okay, so you're giving him money faster and he's shaving 10% off. The other thing is you can say, okay, for these cost of goods sold, for the quote that you gave me, can I pay you net 30? So I'll put a 20% deposit down, just so you know, like if anything happens, you have some money. And after the product arrives in America, I'll pay you 30 days after that. And what that does is it allows you to pay later, so you can get money from Amazon, pay him, instead of you have to pay him all the money up front, and then you sell on Amazon, then you get money, and you probably already have to reorder again, and so on and so forth. So cash flow cycle is something that I'll cover in maybe a different masterclass, but you guys should all look it up. It's called cash flow cycle, and it's important for you to understand your cash flow cycle and to try to get it as close to a negative cash flow cycle as possible. Next is a supplier and 3PL negotiation. So again, same thing as suppliers is 3PLs. So 3PL negotiations is, your warehousing and third-party logistics negotiate with different 3PLs for competitive rates. I think that's self-explanatory. Discuss volume discounts. So see at what volume would you get a discounted rate at. Reduced fees for consistent business. This is a big one, actually, guys. So I have an agency, and if you come to me and you say, Mina, I know that you have a 3-month agreement. What if I do a 12-month agreement? Will you discount the rate for me by 20%? I'm like, of course, I'll give you a discount for 20% if you stay with us for 12 months. Absolutely, no problem. So people like agencies and service providers, whatever, they want long-term business. They want long-term partners. They don't want to keep working with people that will come in and they're like so impatient and they're like, oh, I don't see much benefit, and they leave and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that you can negotiate with in terms of like pricing, is at least not even committing to something, but selling them the vision and the dream that you're going to be a long-term partner. Optimizing Amazon fees. So another way to increase your profit margin is to optimize your Amazon fees. This is where I talked about looking at size you are in terms of like what tier. So you have small standard here, and you can see the shipping weights: 4 ounces, 4 to 8, 8 to 12, 12 to 16. So do you have a 9-ounce product? Maybe you can get it to 7 ounces and 50 cents and go from 358 to 340, which is, again, it's not like a huge or anything like that. But like when you start going from small standard to large standard and so on, maybe you have a product that is in a certain packaging that if the packaging changed, the product can still be in there, but it will be a smaller package or a lighter package or whatever. And you can go, instead of being $4.50, you can become $3. So you basically save $1.70 per unit. Again, none of these things are going to be like, wow, Mina, you basically cut my cost in half. And it's not going to be like that. but it's going to be like 50 cents here, 25 cents here, 30 cents here, 10 cents here, 25 cents here, $1 here. And just stacking all of those wins eventually results in a long-term, lean, optimized, profitable business. At the end of the day, it's what is going to help your business the most. Where are you going to have the cheapest spend with the most consistent operations, where you're able to send product into a 3PL and then them sending it into Amazon seamlessly without any issues. These are all things you have to explore for your own business. Variations. So one thing that I noticed is variations have been incredibly powerful for increasing my profit margins. So whenever you have a product, any sort of variation, whether it's color variations, size variations, and I'll talk about size because it's a very important one, but any sort of variations I've seen takes, like, let's say you have 1,000 sessions coming into your listing. Maybe 50 of them convert on like your initial variation. And then as you add more and more variations, that 1,000, maybe 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%, 120%, 100 sessions of those convert into sales because there's more and more options. So for the same traffic you're getting into the listing, you have more options. But the second thing, the thing that is even better, I'll give you two kind of really cool hacks. The first one is when you have a very small and cheap variation, you can sell and give that away for reviews. And so if you have a $30 product, you can make a $10 cheaper version, and that can be given away for reviews. So you can stack up reviews before you even launch the main variation or while you have the main variation up, without needing to give away a full priced expensive product, right? Because the reviews are going to pull anyways. Now, the second thing is, and this is one of our clients, they sell a protein powder, and they have a 2-pound protein and a 4-pound bag. Now, the 2-pound protein, when you type in like protein powder in the search, all of them are in the 30 to 40 range. And his 2-pound protein is in the 30 to 40 range. However, it has like a much smaller profit margin. Let's say like $6 in profit per unit. I'm not 100% sure. However, the 4-pound bag has about $12 in profit per unit. So what we're doing is we have that smaller variation that is more competitive with everyone on the market. And that's the one that we use in ads. And that's the one that gets a lot of people in the listing. But once they're in the listing, they notice that we have bigger variations, a 4-pound bag. And it makes more sense because it's like 2 pounds for 30 and then 4 pounds, which is double, not for 60, but for 52. So they're like, oh, I'm definitely going to go for the one that's for 52. But the thing is, our cost of goods goes up by $4 and we're charging, an additional $22 minus the Amazon fees and all this stuff. We're still left with a much bigger profit margin than, if we sold that original one, or if, in all cases, it's just a more profitable product because we're acquiring people into the listing from the cheaper one and they're converting on the bigger one. So those are things to consider. If you have a product and you're like, oh man, my product's profit margin is not that high, it's only $5. Consider having variations in the back end, especially like larger, more expensive ones that are more cost effective, that allow you to kind of sell at a higher profit margin.